this AEW CM Punk stuff just will not die. It will not go away. There's a story that came out from Fightful Select. Now, Sean Ross Sapp said that he obtained a document from a source that is saying that Ryan Nemeth had filed an HR complaint against CM Punk in AEW. I'm not saying that he obtained it through an email with Ryan Nemeth, or maybe he was like in a parking garage in the dark, and he was handed some documents like under like a lab coat or something like that. But all the person that also gave it to him in that dark parking lot had to have been Ryan Nemeth. But let's just say he got it from an unnamed source, that he got this very detailed complaint. But it says former AEW star, now I think he's a TNA guy now. I mean, he's been on the show. He's actively involved in storylines. But AEW star Ryan Nemeth formally filed a complaint detailing allegations of harassment, threats, and unaddressed grievances involving CM Punk. The complaint, which Fightful Select reports was sent to multiple AEW executives in September, outlines a series of incidents Nemeth claims AEW failed to adequately address. He also alleges Punk had an undisclosed executive position within AEW, which I think has been out there for a little bit, at least alleged to a long time ago, further complicating the dynamics of the situation. So Nemeth's complaint includes extensive documentation such as emails, texts, and call log as evidence of his allegations. He claims the issues began in April 2023 when he first expressed concerns to then AEW legal representative Mega Perek, who is now gone from the company, about being targeted by Punk. This was reportedly due to Nemeth's close ties with the Young Bucks, who were embroiled in their own tensions with Punk. Nemeth alleged that after tweeting about Punk being the softest man alive. So here's the thing, Ryan. You started this shit. Like your ass went on Twitter calling him the softest man alive, and then he confronted you for it. But now he's the jerk. Now, he probably didn't do it in a nice way. He's probably a bit of an asshole. But let's be honest with who started the whole thing. You were the instigator in the situation. So when you passively aggressive say something about somebody in public who is not a passively aggressive person who will confront you in person, which is the proper thing to do, maybe not like in a threatening way, but if somebody's talking shit about you in a passive aggressive way, like you have to know that eventually that's going to come back to you. The problem is you weren't being protected by the Young Bucks in the situation. Well, I got some more to read here, but I just had to stop it right there. Following Punk's return to AEW in June 2023, he was confronted and threatened backstage by Punk. And despite initial reassurances from Perek, Tony Schiavone, and others within AEW that his position was secure, Nemeth alleges that he faced retaliation. He was not booked for 2 months following the altercation, leading him to fear that he had been silently fired. He was a day rate guy. He was like a per date guy. He wasn't really a contracted talent. Perek reportedly assured him that he still had a job, but Nemeth claims that actions taken during this period suggested otherwise. So he was actually flown to a collision taping, which Punk was kind of in charge of, only to be removed after Punk reportedly objected to his presence. That sucks. I don't think that should happen. Nemeth claims the incidents prompted him to contact Perek again, pleading for action to be taken. Shortly thereafter, she was booked for an episode of Dynamite, or he was booked for Dynamite, where AEW allegedly requested that he cut a promo taking shots at Punk. God, this company. This further escalated tensions and led Nemeth to file his formal complaint. Perek ends up leaving. They actually at one point offered him a non-disclosure agreement for his silence. And then when Punk got fired, they pulled that non-disclosure agreement. They're actually going to pay him 3 years salary, apparently, for that. He is now a TNA contracted talent. What in the absolute hell is going on over there in AEW?
Bro, first of all, I want to say regarding their product, for me, it went downhill when CM Punk left, because I think CM Punk had a certain way of like, hey, this is how wrestling should be presented. And when he was fired, I think Tony Khan and them said, hey, we're going to double down on what we think that we're going to show them our way is the best way. Yeah. And we're going to double down, because that's kind of what I think happened overall. Regarding this story, I saw someone on Facebook today, Ryan Nemeth, everyone always uses this. He's trying to be relevant. No one cares about relevancy that much to put in this kind of effort. This is pretty detailed stuff. Yeah. And I know that we're very much in a society where you want to believe your narrative is correct, the other narrative is wrong. We see it in politics. Like, you like Trump, everything Trump does and says is correct. You hate Trump, or you like, just for sake of argument, say Joe Biden, you like him, everything he does to say is correct. There's very few people in this world that live in the middle.
Yeah.
And so wrestling fans, they hear these things online and they're making this up. I am under the belief when these stories come out and they leak that they're like 99% correct.
Yeah.
I personally believe that. I'm not one of those I'm not one of those people who are like, yo, Dave Meltzer is a liar. I think Dave Meltzer receives incorrect information and doesn't double check.
Yeah, that happens.
I think people do that to him on purpose. Eric Bischoff has said he's done it to him on purpose.
John Bradshaw Layfield said that they did it to him all the time. Just try to intentionally feed him false information so that way he could ruin his own reputation.
Right. But as far as all these stories that come out, because I live in the middle, I'm an independent voter. I'm not a bandwagon sports fan. I like the teams I like, and I don't really care if other people don't notice my hat. I believe these stories are 99% true. There's always their version, in relation to someone else's version, but I'm not under the impression that these insane stories that leak, all these AEW stories, that they're not true. Because take the CM Punk backstage incident for a second. All this information leaked about it, and then the video came out, and it was exactly the information that leaked.
It was pretty damn close. Now CM Punk was the hero of his own story.
Right.
It was it was pretty close to what he said it was, though. There were some slight differences there, but
yeah.
But I think there was and CM Punk is a notorious leaker of information to the media.
But I forgot whoever the hip hop artist that was there. Maybe it was Rick Ross.
No, it was the guy that was actually at. He actually did the TNA show. He was with AJ Francis. It was the guy who was on Shade 45.
Oh, DJ Who Kid.
DJ Who Kid, yeah.
Yeah. He told a version of the story, and his was exactly from what he said. It was not the best story in the world, but the points that he did say that were clear was exactly what, he said Samoa Joe was the big Samoan guy was here, and this guy was here, So, I put a lot of stock into what Ryan Nemeth said, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I absolutely believe that's what happened. He went on Twitter and said what he said, and Punk confronted him about it and was probably a flaming asshole about it. But he has to be honest with who started that. That was him. Now he has come out since then saying he was just trying to impress his friends, but you fucked with the wrong guy. It's and then you end up getting yourself fired over it. That's the top guy in the company, right? What do you what do you think? What do you think would happen? You're a Chargers fan, right? What do you think would happen if the punter for the San Diego Chargers or LA Chargers, decided to come out and talk shit on Justin Herbert, right? What do you think's going to happen? They're probably going to have a new punter that week.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So that's the equivalent of this. Ryan Nemeth was just kind of a guy who's friends with the Young Bucks and was able to get dates with them, and then he's out there talking about CM Punk. Now, I did have the Nerd Network podcast has actually a good question. He goes, do you think Ryan got set up backstage to be the guy to push CM Punk's buttons to cause drama and paint him in a negative light? I don't think there's any other way to read that other than they were trying to get him to piss CM Punk off so CM Punk would actually swing on him at the next show. Now, ultimately, it ended up being Jungle Boy who was able to get under his skin enough to get Punk to be able to do that and got himself fired. But there were forces within AEW that were out to get CM Punk to push his buttons, to get him to go crazy, to get himself fired. And it worked. And guess what? He deserved to be fired because he allowed his buttons to get pushed. He wasn't professional enough. But I think the lack of leadership in that company is what exacerbated this entire scenario. He never should have had that much power to begin with. Your top star shouldn't be booking one of the TV shows. He shouldn't have power over whether or not guys are on the TV and all that stuff. He just shouldn't have had that much power, and ultimately everything just got way out of hand. And it's because so many people lack the leadership skills to be able to confront situations and get them to stop before they get too big, because they are afraid of conflict and afraid of having conversations. That's why this thing got way worse. The Young Bucks never talked to him again. They could have came together after the fight and had an amicable resolution, but instead they decided to talk through lawyers and the situation only ever got worse, and it never got resolved, and that's why we're still talking about it again today. Now, I don't understand why this report would leak at this time. And some people are like, oh, this is just, somebody was saying that this was WWE PR leaking the information to make AEW look bad. It was like, that actually made CM Punk look bad, who is one of WWE's biggest stars.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody in this situation looks good. I think AEW leadership looks bad. I think CM Punk looks bad. And I sure as hell think Ryan Nemeth looks bad out of this whole thing.
Yeah, man, I don't feel like it was purposely. I mean, Ryan Nemeth definitely leaked the information to Fightful, but that let me pull back on that because it'll be contradictory.
Yeah, we don't know that for a fact, by the way.
No, we don't. I do think that he probably. I think he may have leaked the information saying like this stays between us. I don't think.
Sean's a pro. I don't think Sean's running with it unless he has permission. I think it probably got leaked because they never found a resolution to the issue, and he got fed up with it and wants help getting a resolution to the issue, wants communication, and there hasn't been enough communication, and that's been another issue with AEW, is that they're not communicating with the people when they do have these problems, and so he probably felt that this was the way to be able to find a resolution to that situation.
Yeah, I guess that's possible. I don't know what resolution he's necessarily looking for.
I don't know. Well, at one point they offered him 3 years pay and a non-disclosure agreement, and they pulled that because Punk's been fired. So maybe he wants money. Maybe he wants an apology. Maybe he wants them to admit that, yes, that they just, that, whatever happened. I don't think that it does him any good to bury CM Punk, because one of the producers for TNA is CM Punk's best friend in Ace Steel, and Nemeth is working TNA right now. And he's doing jobs on the undercard, but he's still working there.
Yeah, and I'm just glad he didn't use the terminology bullying, because the minute someone's like, I've been bullied, I personally don't believe them. When I say I don't believe them, I mean once you start using that word, I'm like, okay, this is 90% your version of the story, not something in the middle.
I absolutely believe that bullying stuff exists, and it can happen with someone when the power dynamic is so great, right? Because could Ryan Nemeth whoop CM Punk's ass? Probably. He's from, like, him and his brother were, they wrestled all through their life, like Nick Nemeth was like a high level college wrestler at Kent State University. Like, so I don't think there was like a fear of being bullied again or being beaten up physically, but someone can use their position power over you to bully you into, like, doing different things and stuff like that. That I think that has existed in pro wrestling forever. Now, was that this situation? Well, thankfully he didn't use that term. Probably because he didn't want to, like, seem like he was getting, like, physically bullied, right? Because there's different types of bullying.
To me, bullying always means you're allowing the behavior. You don't know how to stand up for yourself. You're or afraid to stand up for yourself. Like what he's saying, what was he saying? Harassment?
Yeah, he was saying harassment. He did. So the thing is, he did stand up for himself.
Yeah, right.
And he was trying to do it in a professional way by using AEW's HR team. And AEW's HR team essentially is non-existent because they didn't really fix the situation. They just got rid of him, right? And they never addressed the problem with Punk, and they allowed Punk to kind of run rampant until he physically assaulted somebody else. Dave Meltzer said that more of these stories are coming out. There was other people that had these issues. Matt Hardy was another guy that he was outspoken against Punk, and he showed up to a Collision taping, and Punk wouldn't let him work. Punk sent him home. Right. So more of this stuff is going to come out about Punk's behavior there in AEW, and Punk is absolutely at fault for being that way. AEW is absolutely at fault for letting it happen.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason CM Punk stories have been leaking about him for years. They don't just, there has to be, with, like, there's smoke, there's fire, so, and I like him. I'm a fan of his, but I also do think that there's a lot of truth to this stuff. I think that, but with the stuff with the Bucks, I think they were just, hey, this is our company, and now this guy's coming in and trying to take over. I think there was a lot of that, and I would
And
imagine when they release their story side of the story one day, I would tend to believe CM Punk's is more accurate. But yeah, I don't know, man. We'll see. I'm interested to see when more of this information comes out, who else speaks up, because what's real interesting to me, uh, and this is on the flip side of the coin, those who like CM Punk, they seem to be held off TV right now.
well, I mean, FTR is still around, but they haven't been the champs in a while. And I think, yeah, Miro. I think no, Brody King was one of those guys, a big CM Punk guy. He's actually getting a push now,
He
thank
is.
God, because I think he's fantastic. Um, but yeah, there for a little bit. I think they're probably kind of slowing down some of the CM Punk supporters within it. But they didn't get, as far as I know, they didn't really fire any CM Punk supporter other than Ace Steel, who is now a producer for TNA. So
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple that Tony really likes, like Willow Nightingale and stuff, who I think was real cool with Punk, but he loves her.
yeah, I
Uh,
mean, who doesn't love her? She's fantastic.
I have my thoughts. I think she's very dangerous in the ring, personally, but she's a
If she's
great,
beating up people, that's not my fucking problem. I find
yeah,
her to
but
be
she's very a great character and a great,
yeah,
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, hold on. We're getting corrected in the chat. This is why I love the chat. They always keep me on my toes. Ricky Starks was apparently one of those guys, but he's a
yeah.
big Cody guy, and Ricky Starks has been held off TV for apparently creative issues within AEW, not wanting to do a storyline with W Morrissey. I'm still calling him W Morrissey. I do not like Big Bill. I think W Morrissey is a better name. But yeah, he's being held off TV for all of that. And then transferring, he says Danhausen,
Mhm.
Starks, Miro. Yeah, Miro's off TV now. Danhausen's been off for a long time. There was like a story going around that he was selling his own AEW merch like on his own without AEW getting a cut of it. So
Oh
I
God.
think I think he got a little bit of heat or something like that. I think that was like a story like that was out there. But yeah, he's been off TV for a long time. So these guys are just getting paid to sit home, which um I think is probably the best job in all of professional sports, is just to get a contract with AEW, get a little bit of heat, and then get paid to sit at home for a couple years.
Yeah, no kidding. I wonder, like in Ryan Nemeth's case with 3 years of salary, what does that look? I mean, I would imagine they're guaranteed dates. I know TNA guarantees dates, but
Yeah. It was probably, he was a per date guy. And so they probably would have said, here's how many dates you would have worked over the course of 3 years. We'll pay you this amount of money. Probably. Just,
yeah,
just to not say anything bad about Punk.
yeah. But I don't think. I mean, obviously, AW doesn't hold people to their dates because they just keep people off TV.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But if
I've
it's
always
if it's
been
their choice, the thing is, if it's their choice to keep you off TV, they have to continue paying you, right?
oh,
Like,
fair
because
enough. Yeah,
you're on a guarantee with them, so you get paid whether you show up or not. And
yeah.
so, that's where all that stuff's coming from. So like, there's a lot of people, but TNA does the same thing. Like when they fired Michael Elgin a couple years ago, they didn't actually fire him. They just kept him off TV and paid him for 2 more years while he had all of his stuff. And then the stupid idiot tried to sue them afterwards. Like, you idiot! They paid you your entire contract. But he's an idiot in a lot of ways. But
He lived really very close to me in Illinois.
I remember that.
When I talked about the indie show that I said me and Rohit started getting cool at, was Michael Elgin ran this promotion at the time, but when everything happened, they had to like buy him out or whatever. But he was
Yeah.
running a hell of a freaking show, I'm telling you.
Yeah, well, I guess Glory Pro was pretty popular for a while, but
Yeah.
dumb
Oh, dude.
Elgin had to ruin the whole thing with all his bullshit.
Yeah, it
Uh,
was more. There was more people there than like TNA easily.
yeah,
It was hot. Yeah.
yeah. Dude, Elgin used to pop in my DMs sometimes, and I was just like, why is Elgin trying to talk to me?
Yeah.
And he was trying to get me to be on his side with that whole lawsuit thing. So he was like messaging me about it, and I was like, bro, how's your sobriety? Because I'm in sobriety. So I was just like, how is your sobriety? He goes, I'm doing really good. I was like, well, God bless you, man. I keep, stay sober. Like, I kind of just gave him one of those messages. But he used to every once in a while just message me. Bick says that AEW pay an extra for AEW taps out at about $800 or so per appearance. So it has to be higher than that. I'm pretty sure like Ryan Nemeth, buddy with the Bucks, is probably getting a pretty good deal to show up to those TV tapings. And he was like on the shows. He was like losing a lot and he was doing stuff in the crowd. So he was like, he wasn't like, he was not a guy or anything, but he was like on the show a lot. And then David said, yeah, they never actually said that TNA fired Elgin. Dumb people just thought they said they did. That was some wrestling reports went out that they said they did, but really they just, same with Joey Ryan. They just took him off TV.
Yeah, right.
Because they didn't really have, I guess because there was nothing like filed, like there was no maybe legal stuff filed. It was the Me Too movement, speaking out movement. They just removed them from TV and continued to pay them out their contract. But that's like pretty standard stuff. Like if they don't have like legit grounds to fire you, they won't. They just have to. They'll pay you whatever your downside was for the remainder of your contract.
Yeah, I bet that 800 number is pretty accurate because what I was told by a wrestler was that TNA pays like $200 for an appearance.
I could see that. Yeah,
on the low end.
Yeah.
So there's been people on TNA television, like legit on TNA making $400 a month. So like when those numbers come out, like, oh, they make $5,000 a year. There's some people who really fucking do.
Yeah.
But then I was told when they went and worked at AEW, they got double that. So they said they got like 400. So
right.
I would imagine the contracted per day talent. Yeah, that sounds right. Like doubling that number.
Yeah. Now I'm getting fact check again in real time. It turns out I'm constantly talking out of my ass. I'm just going off like memory from a few years ago, but Bick said that they actually did fire Ryan and Dave Christ, not Jake Christ. Man, poor Jake Christ, man. He got a lot of heat because of his brother. Dave was a unrepentant asshole. That guy. But Jake was actually he got pulled from TV. I think just by guilt by association.
I was
they ended up bringing him back for a little bit. He actually just worked the Fayetteville tapings. With he was in a tag team with Allen Angels.
Yeah, I was it was right around the time I stopped doing interviews, but I was getting ready to interview Dave Christ for the channel right before that happened because I was a big fan of his at the time. I actually liked him better than Jake. I know Jake was a popular one, but I mean, I'm very contrarian, so I actually liked Dave at the time, but he has completely fallen off the face of the earth.
Yeah, well, for good reason. That guy was pretty terrible to a lot of people. You are a contrarian. You're a fucking Clippers fan. You're a San Diego Chargers fan. Like now that they're good though, that's gonna become popular. You're gonna have to switch teams, but because they're actually pretty good now. Indiana Fever, but what are we talking about? We're not gonna do Fever anymore.
Dude, I don't know, man, because I became a fan because they were bad. I lived in the Midwest, so they were. Yeah. I decided between them and Chicago. Chicago was good at the time. Indiana was bad, so I went with Indiana. But they're like a bandwagon team now. That's just not the way I do my fandom.
Yeah,
like if I tell someone I'm a Fever fan, oh sure. I went to a Las Vegas Aces game here, and I had my Fever gear on. I'm like, oh, yeah. People they're joking with me. They weren't like heckling me, but they're just kind of like, oh, Iowa fan or something. I was like, dude, I'm been a fucking Fever fan this whole time. They're like, okay, so I'm just like,
you were a Fever fan because they were so terrible. They had the number one pick. They were able to get Caitlin Clark. That's how big of a fan you were.
Back-to-back number one pick. Shit.
Yeah.
And number 2 the year before that, and I think the 2 the year before. So yeah, and I like the Angels over the Dodgers.
You're a TNA fan, like
TNA, yeah.
Yeah, you're just kind of always going for like the underdogs and always probably like you probably like a lot of the events that have really cheap tickets, which is why you stuck with like TNA and like and the Clippers.
When I went to the Indiana, and every year in Indiana, I go to the big convention they have, and Miro walked past me. He's a Clipper fan, so I saw him. He saw me, and then he like double take because he saw my hat. And and then we started chopping it up. I'm like, you still love the Clippers? He's like, hell yeah, Clippers. So yeah, he's a Clipper fan. That the young buck, the blonde one, he is. So
Yeah, young buck number one. So I was actually in God, I can't remember the name of the hotel, but a really nice hotel in San Jose. I went there during WrestleMania weekend. I got a deal on Hotwire, the Hotwire app. You know how like they just talk about like the good deals. They had a hotel that was like $500 off for a night, and it was in downtown San Jose. I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go watch NXT tonight, WrestleMania the weekend. I'm gonna go do that. And I get to the hotel. It's a WWE hotel, and I just somehow was staying in the same hotel as the rest as of all the wrestlers, and the 49ers were there eating dinner with like the wrestlers too. Like all like the whole defensive line was there chopping it up with everybody. And I'm just standing in line, and right in front of me was Miro's wife, Lana. And then right next to me, wearing a Pink Floyd t-shirt and a Los Angeles Clippers hat, was Miro, of all people. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was like, because I was like surprisingly, like I was a little bit taller than him. Like I assumed he was a much bigger guy. He was wider, of course, but like I'm like almost 6 feet. I was like a little bit taller than him. I was just super shocked that I was actually, taller than Miro. But that's my only Miro story. So
he's one of the cooler wrestlers I've met. We chopped it up for a while. AJ Francis is very cool too, by the way. But yeah, I'm 5'9". I tower Brian Cage. I tower Michael Elgin. I tower anyone in the X division.
Yeah.
I would say like Josh Alexander is taller than me, but we took a picture together and like I kind of held up the fist, and my buddy was like, dude, you look like you could knock him out.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these wrestlers are a lot smaller in person.
Yeah, well, they're much smaller than they were when we were kids. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But hey guys, I think that's gonna go ahead and do it. Actually, if anybody's got any questions, go ahead and fire them off. I haven't really seen any questions, but transferring, he says Miro to TNA. You know what? I don't think that's too crazy, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he flat out said before he's like, I had a meeting, they were cool, I just didn't want to go there.
Well, I mean, AEW was hot at the time.
Right.
That like, and he came out looking like Thick Shady. He had like bleach blonde hair and a white t-shirt and some jeans.
Oh my god, yeah, that was really weird.
And he was like a video game guy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, guys, I think that's gonna do it for us. BQ and I are actually gonna record something for his channel, so stay tuned for that over on the Impact Lounge. Go to YouTube and check out the Impact Lounge and follow BQ on Twitter at BQ Speaks. Make sure you like this video, give us a 5-star review, subscribe, and throw me some money. Patreon.com/the Mike and JD Show. That's how I keep getting permission from my wife to be able to do this stuff, to talk to my stupid friends on the internet about dumb wrestling. But I happen to really enjoy it. And then be on the lookout on Patreon. I dropped my latest Witching Hour, where I'm getting into weird stories. The Witching Hour. I dropped one about J. Edgar Hoover's original X-File, his original unexplained file about the Beast of Glacier National Park. And then this weekend, I'm actually going to record one about DB Cooper. So be on the lookout for that. And then, of course, Brace for Impact will be out on Saturday. Lots of stuff to talk about in the Impact world, more than what BQ and I just talked about tonight. So everybody go check that out. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. And until next time, mahalo.
Competition starting to get thick. It's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. A made no rain from the track when we